The rain had been falling for 4 days straight. Not the violent, thunder-laced kind, but a steady whisper, the sort that seeps into your bones and stays there. Along the Northern California coast, October always carried that melancholy chill. Daniel Rhodes stood by the large window of his home overlooking the Pacific, a mug of coffee cooling in his hands. Below, the ocean was a restless gray, endless, shifting, and secretive. It suited his mood. "Dan, you're doing that thing again," came a voice behind him. Mara's voice. His wife. He turned slightly, pretending not to know what she meant. "What thing?" "That staring into the abyss thing," she said, with a faint, tired smile. She wore one of his sweatshirts, her dark hair pulled up into a messy bun. She looked effortlessly beautiful, though there was something distant about her lately. "Just thinking," he murmured. "About the marina?" she asked, turning back to pour herself coffee. "You've been worrying about that project for weeks." "Yeah. The investors are dragging their feet again." He lied easily now, though even he wasn't sure why. It wasn't that he wanted to hide anything, it was just easier than admitting that he didn't know what was wrong anymore. With his work. With her. With them. Mara crossed the kitchen, brushed a hand against his arm as she passed, a fleeting gesture, one that used to linger. "It'll work out," she said. Then, softer, "You always figure things out." He wanted to believe her. But the way she said it, absent, automatic, felt wrong. That night, when she said she was meeting her friend Claire for drinks, he didn't argue. But as her taillights disappeared down the wet street, a familiar unease settled in. Something about the way she had checked her phone before leaving, the way she smiled, not to him, but to the screen, stayed with him long after she was gone. For weeks, Daniel told himself he was imagining it. That's what men do when they sense a crack in the world they built, they patch it with denial. But denial only holds for so long. Mara started coming home later, her perfume heavier, her explanations lighter. "Just work stuff," she'd say. "Claire needed to talk." Or, "I went for a drive to clear my head." She'd take long showers when she returned, humming to herself, a tune he didn't recognize. One Sunday morning, as sunlight slipped through the blinds, Daniel watched her sleep beside him. She looked peaceful. Innocent. He studied the small things, the curve of her shoulder, the soft rise and fall of her breath, the faint scent of something floral and unfamiliar on her skin. He reached out to touch her hand, but stopped halfway. Something inside him hesitated. Later that day, when she left her phone on the counter, he stared at it for nearly 10 minutes. He didn't touch it. Not yet. But the thought was there, dark and tempting. It was a Tuesday night when everything changed. Mara said she'd be late again, client dinner, this time. But when Daniel passed by the restaurant she mentioned, the parking lot was empty. He didn't plan it. He just ended up there, following a quiet instinct that had been whispering to him for weeks. He drove downtown, toward the oceanfront. That's when he saw it, her car, parked outside a boutique hotel. The sign read Cypress Inn. He parked 2 blocks away and waited, heart hammering. 40 minutes later, she appeared, laughing, her hair slightly undone, the kind of laugh that came from comfort, not guilt. Beside her was a man. Tall, sharply dressed, maybe mid-30s. Daniel didn't recognize him, but he didn't need to. The way she looked at him said everything. They kissed before they even reached the car. Daniel felt the world tilt, quiet, colorless. The sound of rain on his windshield was deafening. He didn't follow them. He didn't need proof. He already had it. That night, Daniel didn't sleep. The house felt colder, emptier, haunted by echoes of laughter that weren't his. When Mara came home just after midnight, she moved quietly, slipping off her heels, unaware that he was sitting in the dark living room. "How was your client dinner?" His voice was calm, too calm. She froze. "Dan. You scared me." Sorry, he said softly. Just wanted to make sure you got home safe. There was a pause, small, but heavy. She smiled weakly. It was fine. Long. I'm exhausted. He nodded. You should get some rest. As she walked past him toward the bedroom, he whispered, Who is he, Mara? She stopped mid-step. For a long moment, she didn't turn around. The silence stretched until it became unbearable. When she finally looked back, her face was pale. I don't know what you're talking about. Daniel rose slowly. Don't. I saw you. Her breath caught, just enough to confirm it. He waited for anger, for tears, for some kind of explosion. But instead, she sank into the nearest chair, burying her face in her hands. I didn't mean for it to happen. Those words, soft, trembling, broke something in him. The days that followed were quiet. Too quiet. They still lived under the same roof, but the house had become a museum of what once was. Meals went uneaten. Conversations died before they began. Every touch felt rehearsed. Mara tried to explain, It just happened, I felt alone, you were so distant lately. Each excuse was another blade. Daniel didn't yell. He didn't throw things. He just listened, the calm of a man who's already standing in ruins. He thought about leaving. About staying. About how love, once cracked, never truly heals. A week later, he drove back to the ocean. The same place they used to walk when they first moved here, 10 years ago. He sat on the hood of his truck, staring at the waves, remembering the life they built, the house, the laughter, the small, forgotten promises. When he came home, Mara was packing a bag. I think I should stay with Claire for a while, she said softly. He nodded. Maybe that's best. She hesitated, tears in her eyes. Dan. I didn't stop loving you. He looked at her, truly looked. Maybe that's the problem, Mara. You loved me, just not enough. 2 nights later, Daniel left the keys to the house on the counter and drove south until the road ended at Big Sur. He parked near a cliff and watched the dawn break, pink, gold, and indifferent. He didn't feel anger anymore. Just a quiet emptiness. When Mara called later that morning, he didn't answer. He deleted the message before listening. He finally understood, some storms don't pass. They just become part of you. 6 months later, the divorce was finalized. The house was sold. Mara moved inland, Daniel stayed near the coast, working on boats now instead of buildings. Sometimes he'd see couples walking the shoreline, laughing, holding hands. It still hurt, but less each time. He learned to live with silence. To breathe again. And every evening, as the sun sank behind the ocean, he whispered to himself the truth he'd earned the hard way. Love isn't lost in one moment. It fades, wave by wave, until one day, there's nothing left to drown in.